Hi, I'm Leanne Ely. I'm a nutritionist, a New York Times best-selling author, and some people even say I'm a life coach. I started the Daily Dish Show to share my story, my truth, and my journey to vibrancy, and to inspire others to do the same. Because it's all about grit, perseverance, and finding a way despite the odds. It's about embracing the whole woman, not just the parts that are easy to love, and feeding her heart, mind, body, and soul. But I found that this isn't just my story, it's your story too. It's go time. This is the Daily Dish.
Hello. How are you, everyone? Catherine and Jocelyn already in the house, already saying hello to everyone because that's just how these lovelies roll. It's good to have you here. It's Transformational Tip Tuesday. Hi, Doris, Martha. And, you know, the whole theme of this week is stuff my coaching clients have told me. I think it's fun. Alice, hello. Jackie, Beverly, it's been a minute. So good to have you here. So I love kind of theming up our weeks together because it kind of makes things flow a little bit. I have fun with it anyway. And it helps me to put my head into the game. So how about you? Who else has cold hands like I do? It's only in the 40s. I mean, I think it's maybe warming up. Boy, is it beautiful outside. The crystal clear, the leaves are turning. We have about another week before they're at peak. And I promise you, I'm going to make some pictures. I'll put them on in our Facebook group, the Hot Melt Sprint group, if you're not already in it. And let's just show off our pretty falls, shall we? I don't think they can top last year's pretty fall because last year's pretty fall was just unbelievable. So anyway, as I take the garbage off my, here we go. There we are. As I take stuff off my glasses, I would like to make sure that you see that we have an incredible blowout sale going on right now. You can find it at savingdinner.com/blowout. When I say blowout, I'm talking these supplements, when they're gone, will be blown out. That's it. So we've already sold out of selenium. We have other stuff that's still available. So go check it out. You can find it at savingdinner.com/blowout. Okay, BLOWOUT, all one word. They're going fast. It's buy one and get two for free. Seriously. You know why we're doing that? Because we're making room for other things. Tomorrow, right after the show tomorrow, I am having a meeting. Well, not right after the show, but later on in the afternoon after that. I'm having a meeting with our formulator and we're working on some new things, some new stuff. I bring this up to you because the exciting part about this is that it's all for women who are our age. It's for women specifically on the path to vibrancy, on the path for staying well and being well and leading our lives in that kind of a place, right? Isn't that great? Hi, Denise. I'm glad to see you. So I'm excited about that, and I'll tell you, I try things. And I don't feel the need to keep pushing on something if you just don't want it, that's all. And if there's ever anything that you're excited about or you see something about or you're nutritionally interested in supplement wise, drop me a line. Let me know what you think. I always listening to you. All right. The other thing that you need to know is that the Carousel of Crazy, by the way, is on sale this week. Where'd my carousel go? There it is. Where's my Carousel of Crazy? Now, if you buy the Carousel of Crazy, which is the book that basically is the book that led me to the Hot Sprint. These were the thoughts all in here. And basically what this is living a vibrant life in full bloom without always having this diet mentality, mindset, and how toxic that mindset is. And this is the workbook that now free comes with it. It used to not. You used to have to buy this. Not anymore. I'm going to give it to you. And you can find this all at savingdinner.com/show. Now, what this is just basically training and helping you to get these concepts down. And then you can live your life unencumbered by food journals and counting things and doing all this other stuff, because isn't life too short for that? I've made that determination myself in my life. I don't want to live that way. I don't think you do either, because it's not sustainable. When we observe ourselves as the whole women that we are, heart, mind, body, and soul, not just a body and a pair of certain size jeans, not just how we look, not just what other people are thinking, our lives change for the better. That's what vibrancy is. That's what getting off the carousel of crazy is all about. Okay? So you can check that out. savingdinner.com/show. Deborah, Linda, so glad you're here. Anyway, so that's what else we have. Oh, and we are also, of course, doing free shipping if you order $300 or more in our shop. We do this to say thank you, as long as you're here in the United States. Unfortunately, foreign postage is crazy. And we do this just as a thank you to you, because it's something we can do, so we do it. So you have chosen to be with us. Thank you. I really appreciate that. We have an Etsy boutique. Have you seen it with all the full bloom swag? I mean, it's just, do I have any full bloom swag on my desk right now? No, I do not. But usually I have that. I'm either wearing it, drinking from a cup with it. Swag is yummy. I love it. And it makes us feel like we are living our lives in full bloom. That's how we identify ourselves, by the way. Labeling ourselves in a good way. Living my life in full bloom. Yes, ma'am. Our quote of the week is one that if you haven't written this down in your journal yet, get on it. Get on it. Helen, hello. Look, Helen's here, y'all. This is one of the best quotes, and one of the things that makes me dearly love James Clear, who has written Atomic Habits. I have read it twice, listened to it once, and I would strongly suggest you put it on your reading list if you have not yet. It's probably a perpetual New York Times bestseller for very good reason. He's the one who turned me on to this whole idea of switching on my brain, changing up my body's chemistry. Well, he's one of the ones. He's one of the people that I would consider to be on my board of advisors if I had one, right? That guy. And just changed my whole perspective. And I suggest that you read his book, because it will change yours as well. But one of the things that he says, the only way to become excellent is to be endlessly fascinated by doing the same thing over and over. You have to fall in love with boredom, because let's just face it, that's one of the reasons why we don't stay consistent. It's because we're bored doing the same old thing. This is the truth here. Nobody likes it, but it is true. It's how we're wired. So fall in love with consistency. To fall in love with consistency is to fall in love with boredom. Keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. All right, let's get down to it, because this whole week we are talking about funny things that my coaching clients have said to me that have been pretty consistent, and I've heard over and over and over and over again. I always have the same response, and I'm going to share them with you. If Jane is here, there will be pickleball references. She loves my pickleball references. Anyway, I just want to get onto it, because yesterday we talked about I'm just too lazy. If you haven't seen the show notes, they're in the newsletter. Today we're going to be talking about I don't have time, because bingo. I think that's probably the number one thing that I've heard is I don't have time. And I would like to. I say no to that. So let's get on it. You ready? So obviously, and by the way, what I have noticed is it's a frequent go-to. It's a default mechanism of none other than as soon as the words come out of your mouth, that have you ever considered blah, 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 blah. I can tell sometimes when my coaching client isn't listening. They're not listening. They're hearing me maybe. They're waiting for me to take a breath so that they can insert their I don't have time. That's what it's a default mechanism par excellence, isn't it? Well, for them maybe, but they're seeing me, so something's not working. So I believe that it carries deeper implications to what their priorities truly are, what their beliefs are, and what their perceptions are of what time really is about. Now, take notes today because I'm going to give you some ideas and some things that you can do. Also, a free resource that we have in our bag of tricks. And let's get going on this. So, we have to always remember that the science tells us, neuroplasticity in particular, tells us that our thoughts help to form our reality. That's because of the reticular activating system and more, and the neuroplasticity in our heads. And again, we will underscore that. Again, we talked about it yesterday. Got to talk about it again today because it all kicks in. We're going to talk about some orthodox methods into getting behind this I don't have time thing. We'll talk about some unorthodox methods, some things that maybe are a little more creative, a little more fun, that will help you to see things in a more clear way and in a way of breaking this habit, because that's what it's become, of saying I don't have time, right? These, I will tell you, that's patently untrue. It's patently untrue for most of us. You know, there's occasions in life where you have a season in life where that's just, things are just a little wild and out of control. But oftentimes that is something, again, that you can look back, you can analyze and say, why is everything so completely out of control? And if you do an assessment, and with our time block sheet, I'll give you the link to that later, then you can probably find out where you're maybe oftentimes too often saying yes to things you should probably say no to, or you haven't correctly structured your time, right? Everybody has the same 24 hours in a day. Everybody is allotted exactly the same time. It doesn't mean that we spend it wisely. It doesn't mean that we invest it. It just means that it is there. It's 24 hours. And how we go about using that time is totally up to us, right? So we're going to take a closer look at what it means when you say, I don't have time. Number one, it's priorities. That's the number one thing. It often means it's not a priority for me right now. Now, maybe you don't think that that's what it means, but that's what it says. When you say, I don't have time, you're saying, that's not a priority for me right now. Because the deal is, if it was something that was crucial, important, and absolutely a priority in your life, you would take a look at the rest of your day or your life or whatever it is, you know, the things that are taking up your time, and you would figure out a way to put this thing that we're talking about, whatever it is, into your priorities and move something else out. Because that's what priorities do. Priorities align our time, the way we use it, the way we spend it, and the way we invest in it. And by the way, using time is using your resource. Spending time is doing something along those lines. Investing your time is something that is for the future. So think about that, because those are three things, the way that we look at time. We have to look at time that way. And if you ever say, I'm just killing time or just doing nothing with whatever, then you are not perceiving the preciousness of time in a way that you should be. And I will call that out every time, because it is sad, especially when, you know, your life gets cut short. My brother-in-law lost his wife unexpectedly last week. Mark is going up for the service on Friday, and she was only 73 years old. We weren't expecting that. She'd had her, you know, things going on in her life and what have you, but I just look at that and it makes me aware of how much life can just be gone in just a fraction of a second. If you've had a beloved pet hit by a car, like I have, not my Lincoln, but I had a cat that I had for 15 years got hit by a car, and it just absolutely devastated me. Here one day and then gone the next. It happens all the time. The other thing is, sometimes it's an expression of overwhelm. You know, I don't have time. It's I don't, because you're swamped by tasks, swamped by responsibilities, swamped with way too much to do. And again, back to the whole thing. Why is that the case? Right? What's happening? What needs to happen? How can we fix that? always needs to be an answer. What can I do about this? How can I analyze this? Those are things that we can do. But the other thing is it's also avoidance, because this can be a mask stemming from fears of failure, confrontation, or stepping out of your comfort zone. When we first start to do something new, doesn't it feel awkward and weird and just you feel out of sorts? And it's something that you're thinking, well, maybe this just isn't for me. Maybe this is something that's just too much. I think about what I did this summer. I did a weight training program remotely with this woman who, man, she's cut. She's 2 years older than me. And I just was like had a lot of admiration for her. But she also had a way of doing it. She did not take into consideration what I already had going on in my life. And this is something that we need to do. We need to get out of our comfort zones, but we also need to consider what else is going on in our lives and adjust things to make them work. You've got to have that kind of flexibility in your life, or you can't get things done the way that you want to, and you end up frustrated, right? So this is going to impact your actions too. When you start saying, I don't have time, it's going to impact your actions. It's going to put you in this place of procrastination, right? Procrastination in my mind is constipation of thoughts. And constipation. We all know what constipation is. And constipation, if you've ever been constipated, you know how uncomfortable that is, right? Because what goes in needs to come out. Well, that's the same thing with your time. What you're doing needs to produce a result. And when you procrastinate, you use time as an excuse to delaying tasks and decisions, then you are also avoiding and procrastinating with your goals in your life's path, your purpose, the things that you want in your life, the things that you are created and put on this earth to do. Nobody is here to take up space, by the way. We're all here on purpose and for purpose. Therefore, when we put this procrastination fence up around our lives and start pushing back and going back to the comfort zone, the cocoons of our own sofas, we miss out on not only the quality and the vibrancy that life could be, but also on a definite calling on our lives, And I believe every single soul on this planet is here on purpose and for purpose. Otherwise, what's the point, right? We also miss opportunities. You can miss out on experiences, opportunities, fun things to do in your life. A job promotion, a career change. You can miss out on travel. Think about all the things that happen because you don't have time. When you say, I don't have time, you might as well put up a big shield and say, get away from me. That's what that is about. And not only that, but it increases the stress like tenfold in your life. And that perpetual feeling of not having enough time can lead to actual panic attacks and put you in a condition of chronic stress. And chronic stress completely changes your body's chemistry. It uses up your B complex, your B vitamins, which is the buffer zone for inflammation as well. It takes up a lot of your time, your mind headspace. It changes your breath and it brings you down. So think about that. When we increase the stress, what happens? It's not just the stress happens, but what stress does to the body and how your body's chemistry, it changes, and how it just depresses your immune system as well, by the way it does, and also makes you just feel like you're being squeezed. Nobody likes that. So when we understand that, and we understand that thoughts become reality, what does that mean we're going to do? That means we're going to be looking at two things. Again, this is a repeat from yesterday. It's so critically important. You are always either building a neural pathway in your brain, reinforcing it, or tearing it down. And the way that we tear it down is by creating a new one. We neglect it. And I want you to neglect the stuff that isn't serving you and start instead. This is why we flip our thoughts, building a new neural pathway. That's what we're doing. Think roads. Think about bridges from here to there. The only way to get from here to there is to build a bridge because there's this huge gap. We've talked about that before. Your gap is you want to be here, but you're here, and there's a gap to getting there. So what do you need to do? Well, don't go down into the gap. You build the bridge. That's your neural pathway. The neural pathway in your brain is the thing that does all the work and all the heavy lifting. And when you start out, it feels awkward and weird and strange and just you feel a little out of sorts. But as you go, that neural pathway gets stronger and stronger, and that bridge is incredible. I remember they were building the bridge, I don't remember how many years ago, I'm going to say the early 2000s, mid 2000s, with down in Charleston, the bridge that goes, I can't remember the name of it. Does anybody remember the name of the big bridge in Charleston? But they had the old one, and the old one just looked like something like a railroad trestle or something. That was the old bridge. And they were building this beautiful new bridge that went from Charleston to Mount Pleasant, right over the water. And that bridge, you could see it going and coming together like this and this. We do that in our heads. We do that in our heads. And as we do that, we start getting more comfortable with the newness of something that we've just added into our lives. And not only that, but we also, when we notice these things and when we are consciously building these new neural pathways, we are activating our neural path, our reticular activating system. And now we've set off, this is like the sonar, this is the radar that's actively looking for evidence to support the things that we want. Not the things that we don't want, but the things that we want. But here's the deal. The reticular activating system has no moral compass. It's going to look for the things that you tell it to look for. And it's going to collect that evidence. So if you're constantly saying you don't have time, your reticular activating system is going to make sure that you doubly don't have time. It's weird how this whole thing works. And you might say that the reticular activating system either works for you or works against you. You might say that. I say it can work for you. Notice, become curious, be solution-oriented, and keep asking yourself, what can I do instead of this? What can I say instead of that? The thought, create a new neural pathway, and click. There goes the neural path. There goes your reticular activating system looking for evidence to support this new neural pathway. Sounds really simple, and it is. Not easy to implement. It takes a minute. It takes a minute. It takes a lot of back and forth. It's a cha-cha because it's such a big change, but it's doable. This is why we use our 3x5s. This is why we do the meditations and journaling and all the rest of it, right? Because these are the tools to help make that change. So here's some scientific thoughts on this whole I don't have time. When you track your time, then you change your mind. And the reason this works is because oftentimes we only see what we see. We don't look at the time that we waste. We don't look at the times that we just frivolously spend on nothingness. We don't sit there and log our TV time, for example, or social media time. But if you use the time block sheet and do that honestly with yourself, you can find it, by the way, free. You can download as many as you want at savingdinner.com/time block sheet. You know what? It changes everything. It changes everything. And as a matter of fact, if you do this, guess what? You're going to see a hole in your schedule that you didn't know, because that hole is built around wasting a whole lot of time. So if we're going to be good stewards of our time, then we're going to start to see what it is that we need to do with our time instead of 3 hours on social media, whatever, 4 hours on social media. How much time in front of the TV? What can we do? Also, because sometimes we can have it stack and all the rest of it, piggyback, this, that, the other thing. But that's another discussion for another time. But this is really important. 2 is cognitive reframing. Instead of saying, I don't have time, start saying, it's not a priority for me right now. Now, that's the reality check that we all need. Because you know what this is going to do? This is going to give you an opportunity to say, aha, it's not a priority for me right now. So instead of getting frustrated, you see the truth of what's really happening here. And when you see that and you say, but I want to make this a priority, then you start to change things around. Or you just start being more honest with yourself and say, you know what, I'm going to have to back burner that for right now. We do that all the time here at Saving Dinner. I do it all the time with, I'm the chairman of our board for the pickleball club here in Conisty Falls, where I live. And we have projects that we're working on, and then we have stuff that we're back burnering on, and we have stuff that's in the future. That's how a business runs. That's how a club runs. That's how you can run your life. There are things that are always going to need to be put on the back burner because you just simply do not have time for that right now. It is not that time. The earth runs like that. Have you noticed? We're in the middle of fall right now. The leaves are changing, but you're not going to see leaves changing in the middle of summer because it's not time. So if we are honoring like this and we start to understand that there is time for everything, if we put things, in order, then we're going to be fine. Do everything decently and in order, right? Isn't that what it says in the good book? The other thing is, and by the way, this cognitive reframe that I'm talking about too, it's also about perspectives. Remember I told you that story about the woodpecker? Mark couldn't see it. And I kept saying, it's right there. It's at 12 o'clock. We're standing on the deck. Why can't you see it's right there? And then I realized, this man's a little bit taller than I am. So I grabbed him, pulled him down, and I said, put him right next to my head and said, it's right there. Now he was at my level, my perspective, and he could see it. This is why we have disagreements sometimes, because we see things a certain way and our partners can't see them that way until they're in our shoes. That's why empathy is so important, by the way. Mindfulness meditation, what does a mindfulness meditation do but bring us to this place of understanding we need to be present. If we're present, then we're able to enjoy our days, and we're also able to be more conscious of how we're allocating our time. Absolutely critical. There's this other thing called the 2-minute rule. If you can do it in 2 minutes, go do it. Don't mess around with it. Don't stop. Don't procrastinate. Don't put it off. This is something that David Allen, who wrote Getting Things Done, do you remember that book? He said it helps you to get tasks done and just out of the way. Now, that doesn't mean that you're going to be bing, 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 bing all over the place, doing 2-minute task here, 2-minute task there. But if you think, oh, you know what, I've got to get this in whatever, get this in my notes for something, then do it. It's not a big deal. Just do it. Write it down. Put it in your notes. Make it happen. Make a note to yourself. If you do that, then you're going to start seeing yourself valuing your time a little bit more and not saying, I don't have time. Then there's some scientific ways to challenge the habitual thinking of no time. And I've got 4 things for you, I think. Right? Oh, I already said that. Haha, I'm on the wrong page. I've got unusual reminders, actually, of how important your thoughts are. Yesterday, we talked about jewelry. Well, today I'm going to tell you about a time bracelet. So what you can do is, and we do this in pickleball, we've got these, when you're in a tournament, they give the server, the first server gets a bracelet that they wear. It's just this little rubber bracelet that you put on so that you always know which side you're on. I'm not going to get into the reasons why, but if you know, you know. But it keeps everything straight because sometimes it can get confusing. The game moves really fast. So this is the same idea. So when you have this wristband switching, what you do is you notice yourself saying, I don't have time. You take that wristband off and you put it on your other wrist. Does that make sense? And what that does is it brings you into this understanding of, ooh, I said that again. And it helps you to not say that because it's what a pain in the neck. Take this wristband off, put it on, and put it on the other side. So don't do that. Keep that out of the, it'll keep you from doing that. Obviously, you can use time tokens, just like yesterday we were talking about using a jar for I'm just too lazy, reminders to not say that. You can do the same thing with time token and put marbles in a jar, put pennies in a jar or whatever. You can notice how many times you've been saying that during the day. These are These little visual reminders help connect all the dots in our heads, by the way. You can use alarms too, as well, on your phone that remind you and bring you back to the present so that you're not wasting your time. It reminds you to be mindful of your time and mindful of your priorities. It's a good thing. You might even do a different ringtone for that on your phone. We can do that, by the way. You know that. Hi, Anne, by the way. Here's one of my favorites. Get an empty hourglass and just put it on your desk. Put it on your desk or wherever it is that you can. And as you flip it, it's a ritual. And you look at, as you watch the sand go down, just think about that's you watching the seconds of your day go. It cultivates enormous awareness of how the preciousness of time. And we don't see hourglasses much anymore, but it's a good reminder. So I don't have time might be a mantra that you use in your life. And I want you to replace that with, it's not a priority right now. Because it's like the same thing that I say, about this whole idea of decisions. Instead of saying, I'm going to choose to do, I choose this, say, I've decided this instead, because it's just much emphatically more important. And it's an underscore of a decision that has been made, not something that could be a little bit whamsy. You can do the same thing with this, instead of saying, I don't have time, you can start saying, it's not a priority for me. And then if it is a priority for you, then you can start shifting it and say, this is a priority for me. Use a time block sheet, figure it out, and move that good stuff to the top. When your priorities are straight and your thoughts are supportive of your priorities and your words are as well, then you're going to find yourself in the place of really moving the needle in your life, of doing the things that you say that you want to do, staying consistent with the things that you want to do in your life, having goals come to the completion. This is a big game changer. So if you are in this place of using this bad habitual statement of I don't have time, start using some of these thoughts that we've talked about today to really switch things up. And don't forget, that time block sheet is gold. If you need help filling it out, I've talked about it over and over again, but just big stuff, you don't have to put every little thing that you do in there. And make sure that you take a look at it and really analyze it. It's an eye-opener. And it will help you to really realize and recognize how precious time really is. I hope you found this helpful. Of course, this is going to be on tomorrow's show notes. You can get those at savingdinner.com. And if there's anything else I can ever help you with, I'm here for you. Meanwhile, you know where to find the announcements, savingdinner.com/announcements. Peace be with you. I will see you tomorrow for Wise Women's Wednesday. Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining me today. You can find me on TikTok for daily tips to help support your most vibrant life. And remember, you are the author of your own story. Until next time.